Om Shri Sai Ram. We offer our most loving pranams at Bhagawan's lotus feet. Dear viewers, we welcome you to this special satsang, and as we begin this satsang, let us greet all of you on the solemn occasion of the Aradhana Mahotsavam. To introduce the theme that we are going to deliberate upon, there is a very beautiful passage in Swami's Prasanthi Vahini, where Swami talks about the means of attaining that supreme peace. And in that, Swami says that one path that is available for everyone, whatever be their age, whatever be their liking and preference, and their ability to do sadhana, Swami says the path is that of love, the path of devotion. And Swami goes on to eloquently write about how that path can take you to the ultimate, purify you, give you the wisdom that is required and all of that. And in the course of that, Swami says that but this love, to be able to love God in this manner, to be able to shower this devotion on God, you should have knowledge of His greatness.
Oh.
Right? And so very beautifully Swami speaks about the importance of knowing the qualities of God that is greater than the qualities of a human.
Right.
And perhaps that is why each one of us in our journey with Swami, at some point, for some of us, it has been right in the beginning. It has been the starting of the journey. For some others, it has been a little later. But for all of us, it is certainly there in some form or the other. And that is the many miracles that happen in our life. If we were to look at Swami's life itself, we forget about the presence of Swami in each one of our lives. If we look at Swami's avatar itself, I think even a person who does not know much about Swami, who is not familiar with Swami's life and work and message, will certainly know something or the other about Swami's miracles.
Right.
So that is what we're going to be speaking about, and we will tell you why it is not really a very good idea to talk about Swami's miracles in a bit. But I think that's going to be the theme today.
In fact, you suddenly become very, very helpless, because who are we to talk about the miracles? Swami himself, in many of his discourses would say, Chitrambulu Vichitrambulu. And the entire creation is full of such mysteries and such wondrous events. And miracles is an aspect of God's Leela, God's presence. But Swami gives a very, very interesting title to his miracles. He says, miracles are my visiting cards. So, the other day when we were interviewing one of the senior devotees, she was very amazed at the kind of people who come here and do seva in Prasanthi Nilayam.
Okay.
And she says there are IAS officers, there are doctors, there are people of prominence, judges, and so many different people around in Prasanthi Nilayam. And that is what kind of attracted her to this place and to Swami. How they have all forgotten who they are and they come here and do service. But then if we want to know who they are, any of them could remove a visiting card and give it to us. So moment you see he is a judge, you would know that so-and-so is a judge and he's from such and such a place. Now, Swami says that miracles are my visiting cards because often than not, those are the kind of first things that we encounter when we come in the divine presence.
Right, absolutely. Because just like as you said, till we see somebody's visiting card, we think that he's similar to me or he's just like me.
Right.
The same is it with Swami, till he reveals himself through a miracle like that, we have this, we can mistake him to be as human as you and I. And that is why it is so special. And as I said, why this is not perhaps a good idea to speak about Swami's miracles. There's a beautiful discourse that Swami delivered as part of the 1974 summer course. Mm-hmm. And I think we made reference to this discourse multiple times even in the past. When we did satsangs on topics such as who is Sai,
right,
or how to understand Swami's persona, because Swami starts with a very beautiful poem in that. We've used it a few times in the satsangs before. But that's a very beautiful satsang, that's a very beautiful discourse because Swami speaks about himself.
Correct.
And in that, Swami says even great Pandits, those who claim to be very well read and knowledgeable, when they start speaking about me, speak only about my miracles, as though that is everything.
Right.
And Swami goes on to say, if I were to give you a right analogy to put those miracles in perspective, Swami says it is like the mosquito sitting on an elephant. That's how insignificant those miracles are. And Swami goes on to say to the students who are gathered there that I hope that you all will not make this mistake. Because it was the last discourse of the summer course. And Swami said, you will all go back. People will ask about your experiences. People will ask you, what were you doing all these days? So you will be speaking about me. Swami said, don't make the mistake of speaking about my miracles. Swami goes on to say, if you really want to speak about me, speak about this. Probably we'll just hold that back for a bit.
Right.
We will come back to that. But this is Swami's own words, that these miracles, Swami says there, of course, that they are like my visiting cards. They are means by which I allow people to know about the immense presence they are in. And also Swami goes on to say that there are some reasons why Swami gives talismans and such materializations for devotees. But then Swami very categorically says, don't try to understand me through these miracles, because they are very, very insignificant means or insignificant representatives of who I
really am. No, very true. In fact, I think in the same discourse, he goes on to say, it's surprising that the most intelligent amongst you are also drawn by only these miracles. So when we talk about these miracles, we are, we are kind of taken in by the fact that they go beyond logic and they're beyond what our minds can grasp. And Swami says, for you all, it is chamatkar, and it is, ascharyam.
Right.
It brings about ascharyam for you all. But for me, it is sahajam. It is natural. It is just my being. And in a discourse, birthday discourse in 1976, Swami very beautifully says, Ramyate iti Ramaha, Karshyate iti Krishna. So he says, the power of the Lord is to attract. And it is natural for him. It's natural for the Lord to attract. And this attraction is termed as a miracle for us. And Swami says that what is the purpose of this miracle? And is it just to show that this particular human form is beyond what you all can equate yourselves to? Or is it to correct somebody, or is it to punish somebody, or what is the purpose of these miracles? And in the same discourse, Swami goes on to give 4 beautiful terms. The first one is, of course, chamatkar. So the chamatkar is the miracles, and that is what attracts. That's what attracts the people. In fact, he says, why is it so surprising when you go to the market to buy fruits and vegetables? Even there, a particular fruit or vegetable attracts you. So you pick a particular fruit or a vegetable, or when you go to a garden, you would like to see flowers which are beautiful, which are fresh. So he says the power of attraction is divine. So that chamatkar is the first step, that is the miracles. That chamatkar takes you towards samskar. So he says the divine visiting cards and the miracles takes you to a sense of refinement. And refinement, Swami gives us beautiful analogy of a lump of iron. He says it has no value, but through refinement, sanskar, it becomes a beautiful watch. And it has such high value. And from sanskar, you go to paropakar. This is a very, very beautiful step, because he says from an individual experience, you are transforming yourself, sanskar, as an individual. But paropakar is something where you start seeing God in others. You start seeing God in the entire society. So then from that level, you go to sakshatkar.
Beautiful.
So chamatkar, sanskar, paropakar, and sakshatkar.
Beautiful. I think everything that is to be said about when Swami says you go into a market and you see something and attracts you, this is divine marketing, isn't it? The advertisement of the divine himself through a chamatkar. But the only difference is, in the traditional sense of marketing, the person who is doing the marketing stands to benefit by you being attracted to that. But when you see chamatkar leading to paropkar, sanskar to paropkar to sakshatkar, here the one who is being attracted is the one who stands to benefit. Because
Right.
Swami says, I'm attracting you for this purpose of leading you to that sakshatkar. And so, I mean, every example that Swami gives of that watch, the transformation adds value to it, but also because it has become useful now,
Correct.
right? That sanskar has made it worthy of paropkar, right? So
Absolutely.
that inner transformation that leads to you becoming more useful in society will eventually lead you to become one with the Lord. I made a reference to what Swami says in Prasanthi Vahini. The exact words that Swami uses, in fact, I'll just read out those lines. After Swami spoke about the importance of love and devotion, he says, of course, such love will dawn only after knowing the glory and splendor of the Lord, as well as his innate characteristics of omniscience, omnipotence, immanence in all creation. One who is endowed with love of this nature, one who lives always with the Lord, that one will certainly be liberated. Right? So Swami says the whole idea of attracting each one of us in our, in Swami has myriad ways in which Swami has attracted each one of us. The reason is so that we realize, I often think that, we are so distracted in the world that we had to be distracted away from the world.
Right.
And be attracted to God, and it needed to be something phenomenal, right? No, Swami had to be this extremely charming, extremely attractive, and extremely phenomenal personality, because
Right.
we were so attracted to the world, right? And so he had to do all of this to catch our attention.
In fact, these three words, omnipresence, omnipotence, and omniscience, I think most of the miracles that Swami performed broadly, I would say, fall under these three categories.
Right.
Of course, there are, you cannot compartmentalize any of his miracles. But the crux of it, I would say, is again in Swami's own words, I give you what you want so that you will want what I have come to give. And so he says, okay, you want this, you take this. You want this, you take this. So talking about his miracles, if you were to categorize them into omnipotence, omniscience, and omnipresence, I mean, the list is endless. Like, for example, if you take omnipotence, the Lord is omnipotent. He's all powerful. And I think in one of his discourses, Swami says, I need not wave my hand. I need not really wave my hand to materialize anything. But it is to prepare you. It is to prepare you to witness something divine. That is also out of compassion that he actually waves
In
his
fact,
hand.
recently I heard this very beautiful experience of Swami had invited Pandit Bhimsen Joshi for a concert during the Guru Purnima time. And he was seated in the Purnachandra hall backstage waiting for Swami to come down. So this was just after he had undergone a surgery or something. So Swami came down. The whole scene, our Nishikant sir, who is a lecturer in the music department here, he was narrating. He was supposed to accompany Panditji that evening. So he was seated there. Panditji was sitting on a chair. So the moment they saw Swami coming down, Panditji wanted to get up. So Nishikant sir got up and held one of his hand and was trying to lift him. And he said, he's a very well-built personality, right? Because they were all Pelwans those days, wrestlers. So he said, I was actually struggling to lift him up. Swami, who saw this scene, he came running and held the other hand.
Oh, so sweet.
Right? He said, this man, to show his respect to Swami, is getting up. And who's helping him getting up? Swami himself.
Swami himself.
Right? So Swami got him to stand up, and then Swami asked him, how are you? Are you feeling fine? Will you be able to sing? How long will you be able to sing? And all that. And as Swami was speaking, Nishikant sir was telling, suddenly, Swami lifted his hand and just put it on Panditji's mouth. And he said, I could see water coming out of a hose, Vibhuti just spurting out, going directly into his throat.
Beautiful.
And he said the devotee himself was surprised and he started coughing. Imagine so much vibhuti being put into your mouth, and immediately Swami called for some water and Swami gave it to him, and Swami said, no, this will help you, you'll be fine. So as you're saying, does he need to wave a hand?
He doesn't need to wave a hand, and we have seen it several times. So omnipotence, if you were to take all the materializations that Swami did, of course, some of them, Vibhuti is one which all of us have witnessed almost every darshan. every darshan, when students are sitting with their birthday trays, Swami would say, birthday? And very lovingly he would materialize Vibhuti and give. Now, Vibhuti itself he has given to cure so many illnesses, and Swami has given Vibhuti as protection. And it has its own purpose, why Swami gives Vibhuti. Apart from Vibhuti, Swami has given pendants, rings, chains, bracelets, watches, and the list goes on.
Sutra, any number of things.
Any number of Mangal Sutras. He has materialized so many of this. Sometimes you wonder what's the purpose, and Swami himself has told, I think in some of his discourses, that these gifts of mine are also a protection for you. So in times of trouble, these are like they send a telegram to me, they send a signal to me, and of course he doesn't need it, but it is just for our sake that he gives. And then there are several other very, very interesting materializations like diamonds, and then many objects with mythological significance. Swami would say this is Chudamani, and this is a lingam which Adi Shankara put here, and in several occasions. And so these are things which Swami would bring, and then he would just blow on it and they would vanish. And then he has transformed certain things into other things. I remember in our 10th standard, as children, Swami called us for an interview, and we requested the kitchen to make some pakoda so that we could take for Swami. And one of the boys offered a small bowl of pakoda, and Swami took that piece of pakoda and he said, "What is this?" And we all said, "Swami, pakoda." And then he said, "What is it made up of?" "It is made up of this, it's salt also, water also." All this Swami is saying. Suddenly he blew on it and it became a beautiful diamond.
Wow.
And he said, "It's Kohinoor." So he said, see, it's a diamond, and see how many cuts, how many faces it has, thousands and thousands of faces. So, it's a game. And we have this beautiful incident of Swami materializing a fig from one of the plants, and people thought, how did this fruit come from this plant? And when Swami broke it and gave it to them, it was actually a chocolate. So there are any number of these materializations which Swami materialized Ravana's chain. So like there's so many of these significant materializations from the mythology. And also, things like Bhagavad Gita. This famous incident of Dr. Bhagawantam Swami, taking sand and pouring it into his hand and it transforming into a Bhagavad Gita. And we all have witnessed Swami materializing the Bible in Prasanthi Nilayam. And then the famous incidents like Lingodbhavam and Vibhuti Abhishekam. Those were miracles which Swami performed in public. And amazing manifestation of his omnipotence.
And it's limitless, even as you're saying that, when you talk about mythological materializations, when you talk about something like a Bible or the cross which Swami materialized for Dr. Hislop,
right?
It might have had a context, right? Swami might have been speaking about that epic or narrating something, and Swami said, "Have you seen that?" And we've seen Swami materializing Mother Sita's Chudamani, and Swami saying this is what it is, Ravana's chain, and like that. But there have been materializations which were just purely for the joy of it.
Absolutely.
Right? In the days of Chitravati, there are some people who say that Swami would materialize Mysore Pak from the sand.
From the sands, yes.
Hot masal dosa. He said, when one of those devotees was saying that that sweet Mysore Pak that Swami materialized, it was dripping with ghee, but not even a grain of sand sticking to it. He's taken it from the sand, right? And he says, even more wonderful as I eat it, it is from a shop which is very close to my house.
Oh, is it?
Apparently, there's a very peculiar taste to that sweet that he makes. And he said, "Swami, this is from this shop." Swami said, "Yes, it is." Right? And those kind of things. And as you're saying, that like that fig or any number of statues that Swami must have made
from the sands. And the moment Swami would go onto the riverbed, there is already certain anticipation. And I mean, these are just...
I think it was your Kodaikanal 99, Swami materialized a toothpick.
Toothpick, exactly. Swami materialized a toothpick because we had been served, this maize, corn.
Right.
Corn, and then there was this fiber which got stuck in Swami's tooth, and Swami was asking, is there a toothpick? And somebody went and brought a fork. And Swami said, what are you getting Trishulam? Why are you getting this Trishulam? I need a toothpick. And then Swami just materialized a toothpick. And on one side, it's a toothpick. And on the other side, it's a stick with a small cup. And he said that is used for cleaning the ear. So any number of these materializations. And then omnipotence, not only in the sense of materializations, but cure the amount of illnesses and the amount of diseases Swami has cured. We have heard this phrase, cancer is cancelled. I mean, where else in the world can you hear this phrase? Swami says cancer is cancelled. And the number of surgeries that Swami has physically performed. So omnipotence is something which only the Lord can do, and this is a display of his immense power. But why is he displaying this immense power? What is there behind this display of immense power? I think we will explore that as we go further.
Right. And it's endless, right? As you're saying, materializations, cures, and Swami appearing in different places.
Right.
The transcorporeal journeys that
Yes,
Swami would do when in the earlier years. Any number of those things, and all of that comes in omnipotence. Talking about omnipotence, and as you're saying that there is no limit, right?
Right.
What he can create, or what, how he can boggle the mind is endless. There is a very beautiful episode that happened when Swami was in the holy city of Dwaraka, right? We all have seen that picture. I think most of our viewers would have seen the picture of Swami sitting on the sands with an exquisite looking golden statue of Krishna on his lap. But that's all we have seen. We know that it was materialized on the sands of Dwaraka's beaches, and Swami took it out from the sand, held it there, the photo was taken. But the real drama happened actually after that materialization. So perhaps we should listen to it from somebody in that family.
Right.
Because this was during Swami's visit to Jamnagar, the city of the great devotee Rajmata.
Right.
So it was during that trip that Swami went to Somnath, and then Swami went to Dwaraka, and that is when this materialization happened. But thereafter, what happened is being narrated by brother Indreshwar, who is the grandson of Rajmata. He narrates very, very interesting sequence of events that happened after that. Right. We should listen to it in his own voice.
Now, after the Somnath trip, everybody was very keen that the present avatar goes to the place of the previous avatar, which is the Krishna avatar. And Swami's convoy had reached right the gates of Dwarika. And at that place they had to turn back because of the crowds. It was a small place, it could not accommodate. The crowds had got unruly, and Baba's car turned back, much to the disappointment of his entire entourage, which was headed by none other than Mother Ishwaramba. And she let out at Swami. Swami, what is this? We are coming back from Dwarika. Swami, in his own inimicable style, turned around and said, let's see, Jahan Ram, wahan Ayodhya? So everyone said yes. Acha. Jahan Krishna, wahan Dwarika? Now nobody had a sentence to say. You can never get one up on Baba. So they said yes, Swami, but everybody was unhappy. So this being the background, then Swami's car proceeded from Dwarika towards Jamnagar. And somewhere along the route, Swami stopped the car. Everybody alighted. They were on a seashore at a place which wasn't very picturesque or beautiful. The beach dunes were pretty much close to the road. As the entire party winded its way to where Swami was, and grandmother was busily trying to arrange for lunch because they hadn't even brought picnic hampers. The idea was they were going to lunch at Jamnagar, but Swami had decided otherwise. As man proposes, God disposes. It had happened for the second time in the few hours. And Swami was already sitting on the beach. He had made a small dune, as was his style in the Chitravati days. He dug his hand in on the small drawing that he had done and pulled out a lovely statue of Krishna. This happened to be a golden statue. This is a very famous picture. We have it at many places. Swami sitting with the idol over there. Now, what happened is that Swami started asking everyone, what is this? And everyone said, Swami, a golden statue of Krishna. Meanwhile, grandmother just about returned from making some makeshift arrangements of khana. And Swami asked her, hey, Rajamata, kya hai ye? And she said, oh Swami, ye to mera kanaiya hai, ye to mera lala hai. And Swami said, see, everyone saw a golden statue, but she saw her kanaiya. So I'll give her the kanaiya. Now the thing doesn't end over there. This was the beginning of another experience. Everybody was very happy. Swami mentioned that this statue has the exact likeness of what Krishna looked like. It's very different from what we conceptualize Krishna to be. It's a very masculine beauty, and is quite different from the Krishna that we think about. So everybody was happy. Everybody came back to base camp, Jamnagar, and next morning they were delivered with a bolt out of the blue. The word had spread like wildfire. We had people who were representatives of the Archaeological Survey of India, the ASI, had already landed up the next day. In those days, commutation wasn't very easy. You didn't have regular flights and things. So, but a makeshift party was there. They decided that they wanted to evaluate and assess the statue, and that there was a law which prevailed in the country, which said that every piece of antiquity under the Annals of Antiquity Act belonged to the government. And therefore, Sai Baba had unearthed next to Dwarika a piece which was an antique. So it belonged to the government. And grandmother said, over my dead body is anybody taking anything that Swami has given to me. Okay. To the extent that she even started rounding up her old state time forces, and the forces, had been relinquished of their duty about 20 years ago. But she said, I fight to the last bullet if it means I go down fighting, but this statue will never ever land up in the hands of the government. Okay. Now the beauty was, all this while Baba was in the palace, enjoying this drama. Okay. And grandmother would be going down, meeting these officers, coming up. There were flares taking place everywhere. A real hot situation. All those lovely estival smiles which were on people's faces yesterday had become, kind of frowns. Everybody was worried as to what had happened. There was a rumor going around that before a pralay takes place, when things are supposed to happen very bad, then bad incidents of this sort take place. So they thought it was a precursor to, a very bad period coming on. So Baba was the only person who was absolutely in joy. Okay, he was enjoying the drama that he himself had set out. Then Swami finally said, Rajamata, what is the problem? This is after hours of these debates and fights and everything has carried on. So as she, pretty voluminously exploded in front of Swami and told what her problems were, Swami said, हाँ उसको देखना ही है ना statue, दिखाओ. Ask them which period does it belong to. If it is an antique, they should be able to say which period it belongs to. The grandmother was none too sure, but Swami's command had to be followed. She went down, caught up with those people and pretty gruffly told them, right, date it. That was checkmating for them, because what happened, this statue followed bits of principles which have been laid down, for trying to evaluate which period a statue is in. You have at times the architecture was such that they looked into eternity, distance, a kind of a beautified look. All right. And then there were times where the eye pupil and all were very much visible. There were clear detailings over there. Then from the style of the abhushan, the jewelry, the style of dressing, the manner in which the legs would be crossed, each thing dated it and helped to orient it to a period and to a place. Now, the second part is the methodology of casting of a statue also helped, and the metal helped further to get it down within a bandwidth. So all systems, whether the Greek culture, the Roman culture, everybody's used these methodologies, and they are broadly accepted everywhere in the world. Well, this statue didn't fall under any particular dating, because it had things of an era of which things haven't been discovered in India from that point of time. To every particular era, there was something lending itself to that statue. It was a conglomeration of 5,000 years of history in one piece. So the poor guys got foxed. Those were the days of calls, so they booked their trunk calls. There were frantic calls going not only between Jamnagar and Delhi, but between the rest of Delhi and the rest of the world, where the experts are sitting in Smithsonian Institute, in US and all that. And everyone racked their brains, and about some time later, the verdict came that this statue belongs from the past to the present. So ASI had to pack the bags and go back. All right, they couldn't take it because there was no proof that it belonged to a particular period or to a particular region. So whilst people were celebrating in Jamnagar the ouster of the government, in comes Reserve Bank had brought in a Gold Control Act, wherein beyond a particular amount of gold, no individual was supposed to be possessing beyond a particular amount of gold, and if you so happen to have it, you were dispossessed of it. So those folks came in under the Gold Control Act. This quantum of gold was not to be possessed by an individual. Once again, the war was on, right? They had only won a battle the previous day, but the war continued. And between all those acrimonious scenes, again it happened to be after hours elapsed that again Swami decided to intervene. And Swami said, क्या problem है? उसको देखना है स्टैच्यू, कुछ नहीं करता, वेक करता है, देखता है, गोल्ड का है, नहीं है, चला जाता है. Now from the previous day's experience, chala jata hai sounded quite possible, so it wasn't a mission impossible. So they went down and everybody was wondering now what is going to happen. Those poor people filed, and they have the usual ways of testing. They started first with the traditional methods of testing, as they could not figure out that why it wasn't falling as gold. Then they went into more scientific methods. Then more equipment came down. Then they even requested if they could take it away to a center elsewhere for testing. Finally, let alone the fact that it wasn't gold, it didn't come under the element chart that science knows. So, alright, so the people had to give up. It wasn't gold. Of course, going off the records, as the scientists or whoever these people were turned their backs, the state time jeweler did the test and it was pure gold. Alright, So for that point of time, Swami converted it into a metal which was not terrestrial.
So that was the wonderful clip. So such a beautiful Leela, such a beautiful materialization, and it's really beyond the logic of human minds. So that is as far as omnipotence is concerned. What about omniscience? So omniscience is the quality of the divine where he is sarvagnya. He knows everything. He knows everything. There's no limitation of past, present, future, or whether it is Vedas, Shastras, scriptures, or modern knowledge of what you talk, or the latest, probably AI. so he is sarvagnya. He knows everything. And sometimes he tells things in order to correct a person. And many of the incidents, many of the stories where we listen to devotees, where Swami would take them inside the interview room, personal interview room, close the curtain behind him, and then reveal one or two things which only that person knew. And with a lot of love, to say that, God is there, God is watching everything. So why don't you mend your ways? And why don't you take up this part? So, that was one way of him showing his omniscience. And the other way is, of course, every discourse that we listen to. From where that knowledge comes, it's like the Ganga that flows, that unstoppable flow of knowledge. And touching on all topics. I mean, if you go through Sathya Sai Speaks, there is no topic on which he has not spoken on. Then it could be in music, it could be science, it could be any field. In fact, I'm reminded of a beautiful incident which Raja Reddy Garu, the one who used to stay with Swami in the 50s, and he used to sing bhajans. He was narrating that he was with Swami when Swami visited the Vashishta Gufa ashram in Rishikesh. So he went in, and Swami was there, and Purushothamananda, who was the sage living there, was extremely happy seeing Swami and having his presence, because he knew who Bhagawan is, and he was so happy, and Swami was also happy seeing him. And then Swami asked him, "Ask me what you want." And he was from the Ramakrishna mission, Swami Purushothamananda, and a great lover of music. So he was a great lover of classical Carnatic music, and he suddenly asked Swami, "Swami, I want to listen to these two songs sung by Tyagaraja." And Raja Reddy Garu was mentioning that in the group they had Ram and Lakshman, who were very, very popular Carnatic musicians.
Right.
And they looked at each other, because this was a very, very rare kriti, and probably heard by very, very few people and hardly sung. But the moment he asked for it, Swami started singing.
Beautiful.
Swami just started singing these two kritis, and Purushothamananda was so lost. He was rather lost in a trance. And at the end of the kriti, he looked at Swami, and he looked at everybody, and he said, "Only he has sent you. He has sent you." And then with a mischievous chuckle, Swami looked back at Raja Reddy Garu, who was sitting there. Swami said, "Who has sent whom? He has only come." He has himself come. So omniscience, he knows everything at all times. And this is something which he chooses to reveal, for a particular purpose at a given point in time.
Right. And so many, like we've heard Swami speaking multiple languages.
Right.
Right. We've not only spirituality, as you said, discourses and vahinis. There is no subject that Swami cannot speak about. In fact, there is a very beautiful episode I heard from one of our lecturers. The early years of the university. So UGC had mandated that every university should have a workshop on a theme called Question Bank.
Okay.
Right. A question bank is every subject should have a bank of questions that you go back to.
This is the MBA course, right?
I think for the university itself,
Okay.
or for the MBA, I'm not too sure. So this was something that the UGC had said, and then the university arranged for a conference, and the UGC sent one of their very eminent scholars in that theme to address the students. So this person had come, and like always it happens, they told Swami like this, Swami, we have a workshop. Swami said, I'll come for the inaugural session. So Swami comes for the inaugural session, and this person, very knowledgeable, very accomplished in his field, but he had no respect for all these people who call themselves Babas and Gurus.
Oh.
Right, so he had his own ideas when he came. He didn't really look up to Swami in that manner. So this lecturer was saying, Swami started giving his inaugural discourse. So this man was sitting, leaning back, sitting cross-legged, and with an attitude of, what is he going to speak now? And as expected, Swami started speaking about Atma, Paramatma. And this man was thinking to himself, hasn't anybody told the Sai Baba what is the theme of the conference?
Oh.
We are having question banking, and this, he's going on talking about something or the other. And as this thought crossed his mind, talking about omniscience, Swami abruptly stopped what he was talking. And Swami said, today we have a conference on question bank. So let's talk about question bank, right? So this man must have thought, finally he's coming to the topic. So he was supposed to deliver the keynote address after Swami's discourse. And he said, sitting there, he went through the horror of realizing that Swami was speaking every point that he was planning to speak as part of his keynote address.
After Swami's discourse.
Oh. So he was like, what do I speak now? Right? So as Swami was talking, he was making a mental note of what else he could talk. But every time he would think of something, Swami would talk of that. Right? So he said at the end of the discourse, I had absolutely nothing to talk. Right? So he goes up, and by then his posture completely changes from sitting leaning back with cross leg to finally coming, realizing whose presence he was in. And then when he got up to speak, he said, I don't know why Sai Baba did this to me. And apparently he said that Baba, who always speaks about spirituality, spoke about question bank today. I go around speaking about question bank. Let me speak about spirituality for a change.
For a change.
Right? So the most beautiful thing was this lecturer was telling that he later met him also in Delhi. That when he went back to his circle of friends and academic people from the academia, they came to him and said, why did you have to submit yourself to this Baba like this? After all, you're the expert. Is there anything that you cannot speak? And you can extempore speak for hours together. Why did you have to say that I have nothing left to speak? And this man made this very profound statement. He said, sitting there, going through that experience, I realized that I am in the presence of the fountainhead of all knowledge. Right? And he said, I was so humbled sitting there, I felt that this is the source of all knowledge. And for a brief time, he has used me as an instrument to speak about the small subject of question banking.
Question banking. In fact, this is like a live demonstration of what happened in the Upanishads. Have you learned that, knowing which, you know everything else?
No, and even as we're talking about omnipotence and omniscience, one cannot forget that Swami always balanced it with his Maya.
Oh, that's true.
Right?
That's true.
You talk about Swami materializing chains. He would materialize the chain, but then he will struggle to unhook it. Somebody will have to come and help him do that. Or, one of my classmates, the first time he joined Swami's college, and he was not from a devotee family. He was seeing Swami for the first time. Few days into the academic year, Swami comes and asks him, where are you from? So he says, Swami, Madanapalli. He says, Madanapalli, oh, it's nearby. So he said, very good. Next day, Swami again comes and asks him, where are you from? He said, Swami, Madanapalli. Oh, Madanapalli. For about 5 days consecutively, Swami comes and asks him, where are you from? Where are you from? And this boy is wondering, why is Baba asking me this question again? Why is Swami asking me this question repeatedly? Right? He didn't know. I told him. Is he so forgetful? Why is he doing that? Then he said that 4th or 5th time when Swami comes to him and Swami asks, where are you from? He says, Swami, Madanapalli, Swami. He says, oh, Madanapalli. Then Swami asks him, do you know this particular hospital in Madanapalli? Then this boy's face lights up. He said, yes, Swami, I know. That next to that hospital, there's one main road which goes. He said, yes, Swami, I know. You go down the road and you take a first left, and there's one small temple there. This boy's mouth is opening wider and wider, and Swami is saying, third gate from there, that is your house, right?
Oh.
And then it occurs to this boy that he knows exactly where I lived all these years. And here I was thinking that he's asking me because he doesn't know. Right? And always that omniscience and omnipotence was accompanied by that Maya. I remember one of my other classmates saying that he was sitting in front of the bhajan hall, and Swami had called a group of devotees for an interview, Westerners. Swami comes out of the interview after the interview is over. There was one lady who stopped at the door and started speaking to Swami. And as he was trying to listen in, he realized that she's speaking in a foreign language.
Okay.
Right? And to his utter surprise, Swami was fluently replying to her in the same language. Right? And this boy is sitting there and he's listening to this conversation. He's never heard Swami speaking this language, and so fluently Swami is speaking. And then Swami blesses the lady, she goes away. Swami turns to this boy. Did you know what language I spoke? Do you know what language I spoke? He said, no, Swami, I've never heard. And Swami said, Italian.
Oh.
Okay. And this boy was so thrilled, right? It's a miracle, right? You can go and talk about it. And he said, after that, Swami turned to go back inside the interview room, and then Swami turned back. Swami said, every year they come, no, I speak to them little, I picked up the language.
Oh.
Before he could consider it to be a sign of Swami's omniscience. I think that's the beauty of Swami.
See, it's almost like he did these miracles spontaneously. There is nature. So he did this, but they cannot define me.
Absolutely.
And I think the point is, when we start taking these miracles too seriously and we say he is God because
right.
and the moment the because comes in there, then he makes sure that the because is melted away.
Right. We spoke about omnipotence and omniscience. Omnipresence is very unique.
Yes, very.
Right? Omnipresence is a very unique sign of God. Again, not to be putting the clause of because in front of Swami, but there's a very interesting episode narrated by a very senior devotee where Swami himself comes and says that you want to understand my divinity, you test my omnipresence.
Oh, okay.
Maybe instead of us narrating that, we should listen to it in her own voice. Many of the listeners might have read the articles that we've published based on the interview with this devotee. She is Mrs. Rani Subramaniam, who was very lovingly called as Rani Ma by Swami. She narrates this episode where Swami says, test my omnipresence. We'll listen to that.
Ask me for help, but sit down and pray and contact me through prayer. He has told me personally also, any problem, Ranima, you pray, but pray very sincerely, very ardently. No, not super, pray, Swami, I want to, not like that. Sit calm. Go deep within yourself. Pray. I'll show you omnipresence. That's how, soon after we came, I have to tell you another thing. He came to our place, our room, I mean, here.
Prasanthi.
Yes, he used to come and give us talks in our own room, those days. Then he looked at us and said, you are not convinced I am God yet, no? He asked us a straightforward question. You still have doubts about my divinity, don't you? We kept quiet. We just looked at him. That means yes. We can't tell him yes, we kept quiet. He knows everything, why should we? Then he said, it is but natural. Nothing unnatural. How can you believe somebody, they come and tell you, I am God. How can you believe? Nothing wrong, very natural. He said. We thought, he may not like it or something. Very, very natural. Doubt, very natural, he said. So we were very happy with ourselves that we have been forgiven for the doubts, sort of. Then he said, but one thing you must do to remove your doubt. You know what you have to do? You can't always live with doubt. So do one thing. He told us, the two of us. He said, if I am God, I must show omnipresence. Nobody else can show omnipresence. Only God can show. Even ordinary gurus can't show to the extent Baba is showing now. No ordinary guru can show that. He said, you test my omnipresence. You have to test it. She told us you have to do it. There's no other way. Then only your doubts will go. Now he said, no, how can we test his omnipresence? Puttaparthi, he's already there. He said, when you go back, I was in Madhya Pradesh, Nagpur, where my sister was in Delhi. When you go back to your respective places, test me whether I'm available as omnipresence. You have to do it for your own sake, he said. See, that itself proves what a great guru he is. Right? Guidance. No, exact. Why should you have doubts? I told you I am God. He didn't say it like that. Why can't you believe? Yes, natural. Everybody will have doubts. But doubts can be removed by your own effort, your own life. So Swami said, go and test me. So I tested Swami. See, my husband is a doctor. Was a doctor. So I used to get doctors anytime I want when illness and all took place in the family. So my son was very ill. And at that time, my husband had gone on tour. He had to tour whole of Madhya Pradesh, So he was on tour. My son got ill. And he was running fever for 5 days. And it was 103, 104, 103. The doctor came and saw him and said, I'll treat him. And he started the treatment. First he thought it could be malaria, then he thought it could be influenza, like that. He couldn't precisely find out the cause, say this is this. So he went on treating, but he didn't respond to any medicine. Then on the fourth day, he came and told me, I think since he's not responding to my treatment, it could be typhoid. That's the only thing that I've not treated him for. I've treated him for malaria, for flu, dengue. Everything. I've been changing, a little bit. It's not working, he said. So he said, I suspect typhoid. So for typhoid to get a proper, this thing diagnosis, we have to do a test, a blood test. So he said, tomorrow evening, I'll come and take his blood and I will test, then start the treatment for typhoid, he said. The doctor came on the fourth day, because it was not coming down at 103, 104, it went down. And that night, the same night, the evening doctor had come. Same night at about maybe 9 o'clock. That was my son was ill. He was about maybe 5 years or 6 years old. So he became delirious. He didn't recognize I'm his mother. He just looked at me. He was running away from the bed. Hey, Chidiya, and he said, look at the bird there. Like that. All sorts of, babbling he was doing. Okay. Which I couldn't understand. Why is he talking like this? I thought some brain fever or something. I didn't know. Then I got nervous. Because I'm trying to put him into bed, he won't get into bed. He's wanting to run. I said, what has happened to this boy? Then immediately Baba's thought came in my mind. I've told you to test my omnipresence. Now is the time for you to test. Go. It came in my own mind. Not that I heard a voice in it. Go and pray for me. Pray to me, I mean. So I went to my shrine. I had a lady to help me, one servant maid, Aya. I told her, look after the child. I'll just go and pray and somehow manage him. I'll pray and come back. So I went to my shrine, puja room. I sat there and talked to Swami. Swami, you said to test your omnipresence. Today I need your omnipresence because the child is behaving so queerly, so queer, I can't even understand what is happening. I want your help. Please, Swami, come and do something and all that. Then I said, Swami, if you really come then and save him, 3 conditions you must fulfill. One is, when I go back now, he must be fast asleep. He should be running and saying all sorts of things. First condition, then I will know you have come as omnipresent spirit.
Okay.
Then second is, when I get up in the morning, I will take his temperature. It must be 98.4. Not even 98, 99 even I will not accept. You came as omnipresent. It must be exactly 98.4. Then Swami, sometimes the temperature comes down and then it goes up in the afternoon and evening. I will test again afternoon, again evening. It must be continuously 98.4. And you should be absolutely normal in every sense. Then I believe you have come and helped. Then Swami had told us to contact him, we have to do japa. Talking is, of course, because he's Hridayavasi, he's listening and he's also hearing wherever he is, everybody's Hridayavasi. So, the message will reach him. So I started chanting my mantra. I had a mantra. I just doing mantra japa and sitting for a while. Then I got up. I went back to the bedroom. I found him fast asleep.
Oh.
Then I asked my maid, when did he go to sleep? Then she said, Amma, soon after you went, and few minutes after, he went off to sleep. And he didn't get up even when I went, he was fast asleep. Then morning he got up very normal. None of that babbling and all that, nothing there. He recognized me and he was just, as he has always been. I took his temperature, 98.4. I took in the afternoon 98.4. Evening 98.4. What more do I need?
This has come in Man of Miracles.
So, Swami at that time was in Venkatagiri with Maharaja of Venkatagiri. And he was talking to them at 9 o'clock. Venkatagiri Maharaja and Kumar Raja at night. 9 o'clock is the time I called him, at about that time. He went into a trance. He just fell back like that, and that was called trance. They didn't understand who. Raja is, Kumar Raja thought, what he was talking, suddenly he's fallen and like as if he's, unconscious, like unconscious. So when he came around, they asked him, Swami, what happened? Was it a trance? Did you go in a... They have heard about trance, but they have not witnessed a trance. So, was it a trance? You went in a trance? Swami said, yes, I went in a trance. Then he said, what happened? Why did you go? They asked Swami, what happened? Why did you have to go in a trance? Then Swami said, one of my devotees, Rani Ma, he took my name, was in great trouble. Her husband has gone on tour. He told all that. He is not there. So she is alone with her 2 children. The boy has got delirium, like high fever. She is very worried and troubled. So she prayed to me, Swami, come, show omnipresence. I have gone and I saved the boy. Boy is all right.
Oh.
He said.
So that was the beautiful incident narrated so beautifully by Rani Ma. In fact, there are hundreds and thousands of such incidents. And his omniscience is, the beautiful incident of Swami sending the telegram. The instrument is with me. And so many such incidents. The list is endless. But as we were discussing, probably all these incidents, all these manifestations of divinity are for our transformation. And I'm reminded of this beautiful incident narrated by one of students. He was a student then, now an alumni. So Swami had called his family for an interview. So his parents, his brother and himself, all of them were in the interview room. And Swami spoke to them and blessed their entire family. And then Swami took them inside the inner interview room. And there also Swami blessed the entire family. And suddenly Swami looked at this boy and Swami said, you stay back. And he sent his parents and his brother outside. Now he says already my hand started trembling and he was a bit shaken. He didn't expect this. Swami said, you stay back here. So anyways, he was sitting and doing Padaseva, and Swami looked at him for a while and asked, doubt Sunda. So like you have doubts about my divinity. And he was very embarrassed to say, he said, because in his heart he knew that Swami is divine. But sometimes, the mind plays its tricks and the mind tells this and that. How could he know this? How could he do this? Blah, 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 all that. So he was just silent. And Swami said, it's all right. And Swami looked at him. Swami says, I know everything. I know everything. And then he continued looking at Swami, and suddenly Swami materialized a photograph. Now, when he saw the photograph, he was like completely taken aback, because this was sometime in his 10th standard. And he and his friend probably just one of those days when they decided to skip school and they went behind a movie theater and probably had his first puff of smoke. So he was smoking with his friend behind a movie theater, probably somewhere in Kashmir, and many years back. And Swami beautifully just materialized his photograph and Swami showed it to him. And at that moment, he was like completely taken aback. And he, of course, broke down and fell at Swami's feet. And Swami says, I know everything. But it is for your transformation that I do all this. And Swami was blessing him. As this brother was narrating, he said later when he thought about it, few other aspects came to his mind. One is he could have done this in front of his parents. And his parents would, forever not had a good impression about him. And so many things could have happened. But Swami sent his parents and his brother out. And it is only for this particular soul. And Swami showed him something which only he and his friend knew and nobody else knew about. The second aspect is, from the time he had joined Swami's college, Swami was showering so much love on him. And Swami had given him such wonderful opportunities because he was a harmonium player and he was practicing to become a singer as well. So he thought that all this while Swami knew me. Swami knew everything. Swami knew everything that I had done. Swami knew all the good. Swami knew all the naughty things that I had done. But all he showed is love. And he says that love which Swami had, no reason for love, no season for love, what Swami says. He says, that touched me and that transformed me. So ultimately, it is that love that Swami gives, that love that he expresses to himself in you. I think that is the crux of everything that these miracles are done for.
Absolutely. And, even as you're narrating it, there's a very famous episode, we might have shared this many times, happened with a devotee, one of the devotees who came in the early 40s, Mrs. Kamala Sarthi. So she comes to know about Swami. I think she comes from Delhi all the way. She comes and Swami is, I think, still in Old Mandir, or I think he has just moved to Prasanthi Nilayam. She was not very fascinated by these materializations that Swami was doing, because she was a true spiritual aspirant.
Right.
So she was in search of a guru. So she said, why is Swami doing all of these things? And she also comes from the background of where Ramakrishna Paramahamsa says that a guru should not display such powers. So she was very uncomfortable with this idea. Why should Swami show his miracles like this and attract people through such acts? But she never asked Swami this. She did not place this doubt before Swami. She says that one day she witnessed a very moving scene of a group of devotees returning to their respective towns and villages after having lived with Swami for a few weeks. And we've heard descriptions of these scenes even from other devotees, where they would get into a bullock cart and they would
Right.
drive past the banks of Chitravati
Chitravati.
and through the riverbed of Chitravati. And Swami would stand at the edge of the old mandir with a handkerchief in his hand, waving till they actually go out of sight. Right? So she sees the scene, and she sees in that group, from the 6-year-old to the 60-year-old, everyone was breaking down and sobbing inconsolably.
Oh.
And Swami was, consoling them, and Swami saying, "Don't worry, I'll call you back soon. I will call you back soon," and blessing them, giving them Pad Namaskar. And she sees the scene, and something, stirs within her. So she goes away to a lonely place, and she starts thinking. See, if it is only miracles, if it is Swami doing these fancy things and wonderful things is what is attracting people, she said, people will not cry like this. Right? You will not cry at the prospect of leaving someone's presence just because they are an entertaining person.
Correct.
Right? So she said, this doesn't add up. Right? It's not Swami's miracles that is attracting these people. What is it that is drawing people to Swami? And as an intuitive thought, it occurs to her, it must be Swami's love. It must be Swami's love that is drawing all of these people to him so dearly. And as this thought crosses her mind, she feels a pat on her shoulder and turns back, and it's Swami standing there. And Swami says, "Kamala Sarthi, correct thought. Hold on to that thought, you will understand Swami better."
Wow.
And going back to that 1974 discourse, as we said, Swami told the students there, you don't make the mistake that so many learned people are doing of trying to qualify me and quantify me through my miracles. Try to understand me by speaking about that which is my true quality. And Swami said that is prema, that is love. Talk about Swami's love. Share about Swami's love, because that is what truly represents Swami. And everything that we speak about is actually just a manifestation of that love.
In fact, talking about love, there's Swami can go to any extent. Swami he goes to the primary school child and asks, what is the breakfast? And he goes to the Prime Minister and President and asks them, how are you? Means it's just love. And for him, love towards everybody. And it is love that prompts him to do anything. In fact, I separated myself from myself to love myself. I think love is the core of the purpose for this entire creation, and which is the biggest miracle. But there is this beautiful incident of the resurrection of Walter Cowan. And many of our viewers will know about it. That Walter Cowan was from the US and his wife Elsie Cowan. They were in Madras to attend a conference, and Swami was there as well. And suddenly he had chest pain and he was rushed to the Kanomera hospital there. And the doctors declared him dead on arrival. And so they had actually put the white sheet over his head, and the body was there. And his wife was kind of shocked, and she was obviously didn't expect this. And Swami was on his way to the conference in a convoy, and suddenly he gestured to the driver, take a left or a right. And he went straight to this hospital. And he walked up to this room, and he just removed the bed sheet, and he said, hey, Cowan, come back. So Walter Cowan, who had actually died and who was declared dead, was brought back to life. And he got up and he was looking at Swami, and at that time there was nobody in the room. His wife had just gone out, and Swami came and brought him back to life and then left the room and went back. When the wife came in, she saw him sitting there and she was completely again shocked. Now, which shock was bigger, we never know. But it's almost unbelievable that Swami has brought back somebody from the dead. And what is more unbelievable than this miracle is the reason Swami gave for this. So somebody asked Swami later, Swami, why Walter Cowan? Why did you choose this particular devotee to bring him back to life? And Swami said, see, Elsie is also elderly. His wife is also elderly. And I wanted to save her the trouble of carrying a body all the way back to the US. It is love for Elsie where he didn't want her to go through the trouble of carrying this body back. And it is for that reason that he brought him back to life. I mean, where does it all add up? Love, no reason for love, no season for love. And so I think it is that love that manifests in any given way.
Very true. And, even as you were narrating this episode and the previous one of Swami showing a photograph,
Right.
what a horrific thought that you're being, the Lord is standing around with a camera to capture your most embarrassing moments. But, that's the beauty, the feeling that student felt. I think each one of us who have had the opportunity to receive Swami's love will know that his love was unconditional.
Right.
And when we go through all of these episodes and when we hear about what Swami can do and what Swami knows everything, people who know a little bit of the negative side of us find it difficult to love us. Right? Even that student would have thought that my parents know this, their love might reduce a little. But the Lord, who knows everything about me and everything about us, still is able to love us so unconditionally. And I think that is the greatest blessing, really, right? Everything else is manifestation of that love.
Correct.
There is this very beautiful episode. It's a little different from perhaps the other, cures and resurrections that we must have heard. This happened to this great devotee, Seshagiri Rao Garu, one of the first pujari of Bhagawan's
Right.
mandir, right, in the early 40s. So he had served Swami for many years, and then with age, I think he was ailing. So it came to a point that it looked like his last days were there. So Professor Kasturi writes about it. He goes to see Seshagiri Rao Garu, and he says that this man is mentally ready for the last moment. And as he goes there, he hears that he's quoting from the Upanishads, statements that say that I'm not this body, right? I'm the Atman and I'm one with the, the Supreme. And Professor Kasturi is like so impressed. He said, this is the kind of death that a person should have, to be able to recall such truths in the last moments. And he was in awe. He said, oh my God, this is how one must die. And word was sent to Swami saying that Swami Seshagiri Rao is very sick and looks like any time he might end his life. Swami comes there, and Professor Kasturi says, I was eagerly waiting for this moment when Swami would come and accept this soul which is ready to merge back in him. Swami comes and he says, in the most cruelest of gestures, Swami comes and says, hey, Seshagiri Rao, get up. What are you doing drama? Get up. You're fine only. Nothing wrong with you.
Oh.
And Professor Kasturi says, what is happening here? And he said, it was literally like Swami snatching away the most glorious of deaths from a devotee. And Swami says, get up, nothing doing. I'm going for bhajans. Get ready and come for Aarti. And Swami walks away. And within a few minutes, this devotee was fine. He got up, he got ready, and he went to the mandir and he gave Aarti.
Oh.
And Professor Kasturi was saying, this is really weird, right? Because everybody looks forward to a death like this, and Swami is coming and making this devotee all right at such a time. And then he goes on to say that he lived very happily for a few months. And then I think he fell down, he fractured some bone, or he went through a small accident like that. And after that, the sickness that followed was even more painful.
Oh.
He suffered a lot, and they couldn't do anything much for him. The hospital here was not equipped in the early years. So apparently his family came from Bangalore. They said, Swami, can we take him for treatment? Swami said, nothing doing, he'll be fine. So this devotee went through enormous pain and suffering for the next few weeks because of this fall. And all the while, Professor Kasturi was saying that I could not but remember how beautifully his death would have been a few months ago. Why did Swami do this? And then finally one day Swami comes and Swami says, okay, now you can go. And I think Swami pours water in his mouth and blesses him, and then he leaves. Then when Kasturi asks Swami, what is this? Why did you not let him die then? And why did you cure him? And why did he have to suffer like this towards the end? Swami said, see, he has served me so much. For this much karma, why should he take another birth? Swami said, I just wanted him to finish it off now. Swami said, had he died then, for this little bit of karma that is there, he has to come back. So Swami said, I just let him work it out. So now he doesn't have to come back.
What great.
And whether he takes away something that in your opinion is glorious, whether he gives you something which in your opinion is painful, whether he is curing you or he's letting you suffer, everything is out of his love, right? Because that is the only constant. This omnipotence, Swami might show it, might not show it.
Right.
Omniscience, sometimes he might choose to show the Maya, sometimes he might choose to show his omniscience. But one thing that is constant and one thing that you can be absolutely sure of is whatever he does, it is being done out of his love.
Absolutely. In fact, I think it was Professor Kasturi who was going with Swami to many of the villages in the 60s. And Swami was speaking about Atma, Paramatma and Gita and high philosophy. And he looked at Swami and he said, Swami, these are farmers, they are truck drivers and simple people. Will they understand anything that you're speaking? Swami said, no. And then why? Why are you, literally giving your breath and in such a high pitch you are speaking all these concepts? And Swami says, this is not for now. 10 births later, they may understand what I'm speaking. And so his compassion is not limited to the now, to the present. Who can do that? I mean, except God, who can, go along with the journey of your soul? With every individual jivi, the Lord goes along with them. So, as we were discussing, we have realized that love, selfless love, is at the core of every miracle, every divine manifestation that Swami does. And in a way, Swami acknowledged it. He has acknowledged it many times. There's this beautiful incident again of an alumnus who was narrating. Swami had told them, let's go to a particular village for doing village seva. And so they all were getting ready and Swami said, I will come. And then Swami said, I will come with you all in the bus.
Okay.
And so there was a lot of excitement. And then Swami added another statement. He said, tomorrow when we are going in the bus, I will reveal to you the secret, the mystery behind the miracles that I perform. And so that was like an icing on the cake, and nobody knew what to expect. And then so the next day Swami came into the bus and they were going. And then Swami said, see, I told you I will reveal to you the mystery, the secret behind my miracles. And he said, we often think that producing something is a miracle. Like, for example, you have this microphone. Producing this microphone is a miracle because somebody has taken the metal and then they have shaped it, they have processed it, sanskar, and then it has come to the shape of this microphone. And Swami said, production of objects or production of things can happen in 3 different ways. One is the regular way, like you go to a factory, you go to an industry and where it's assembled and it is made. That is a regular way. The second way is something that can be brought because of siddhis. So he says by yogic practice, anyone can develop these siddhis. So you can probably materialize vibhuti, you can materialize any object. So through these siddhis, you can actually materialize. But then there is a third way. And then Swami says, the third way is the simplest and the best way, and that is my way. Now, everybody is like almost on the seat's edge, waiting to listen to Swami. And then Swami gave a live demo. So this is not a lecture, it's a lecture demonstration. So Swami is telling them, he said, now see, I am thinking, so the thought is going into my mind that I should materialize a diamond. And so he put his hand out and there was a green diamond right there. And everybody was so surprised. And Swami's face was beaming. In fact, that is one of the things, I mean, whenever he materializes something, his face is beaming so much. So suddenly there was this beautiful green diamond and Swami is showing it. And then Swami says, now the thought is coming to me. So again he's showing his hand. Slowly the thought is coming that this diamond should become white diamond. And as he's holding it, it becomes a white diamond. And then Swami just takes, now it should go back. And he just blows on it and it goes back. Now everybody's surprised. And then Swami says, this third way of materializing or producing things is purely by the power of sankalpa or will. He says, when I think, it happens. When I think, instantly there is manifestation. And he says, this is possible for all of you. It's possible for all of you to do this. But there is one particular quality that makes sure that you are capable of doing it. And he says, that is purity. He says, from the time this body has taken birth on this earth, it has acted selflessly every single moment. There's not a single moment where it has thought for itself. And that selflessness, that selfless love is what constitutes purity. And he says that purity is what gives you the strength. And with that purity, the moment he thinks, it happens. So the moment he willed, a materialization happened. The moment he thought that a hospital should be built, within a year, the whole building came up. I mean, so the moment he thinks, things materialize and things happen in the most difficult of circumstances.
We were talking about Swami distracting us away from the world, and these chamatkars or these miracles or wonders are means of attracting us.
Right.
But the flaw in some of us, it happens to all of us, is we get distracted from the world but get attracted to the miracles, right? And I think that is why Swami always says that I am attracting you to look beyond even these miracles. There is that very beautiful episode Professor Kasturi writes about in Loving God, where this was a time when he was still not settled in Prasanthi Nilayam. He used to visit whenever he would get the opportunity. So one time when he comes, the devotees come and tell him that it's a full moon day, that usually full moon day Swami takes us to the sands of Chitravati. We are all trying to coax Swami to take us, but Swami seems to be in a different mood today. So he said, it's nice that you have come. Why don't you also go and give it a try? So he had no clue. He said, oh, why not? So he went and he asked Swami, Swami, it's a full moon day. It will be nice if we all go and do bhajans. Right? This is a way of putting it to Swami. Swami, it will be nice if we all can gather there and do bhajans. Maybe take some food and we can have prasadam there. And Swami says, I know very well why you are asking to go to Chitravati. It is not for bhajan or anything. You want me to perform miracles. And then Swami asks, you think I need Chitravati sand for miracles? That was a time when construction was still happening in Prasanthi Nilayam. And there was so much of sand all over the place. Swami said, why this sand is not enough? I cannot do from here. So Professor Kasturi said, yes, Swami, any sand you can do. So let's sit here. We'll all sit under the open here. Then Swami says, so you think I need sand to do my miracles? So Professor Kasturi said, no, Swami, you don't need sand. You don't need anything to do miracles. Then Swami told that miracles, miracles, miracles. Why are you running and clamoring behind these miracles? And Swami was almost like a little frustrated when he said that. He said, do you realize that you are my greatest miracle? Swami said, this human birth, this is my greatest miracle. When are you going to understand this? When you really look at it, there is this talking about miracles, talking about, we spoke about omnipotence. One thing we perhaps didn't speak about are the many visions that Swami has given
to
devotees. So one of the greatest miracles documented in our epics is that of the Vishwarupa Darshan,
right,
which Krishna gives Arjuna. But the reason why he gives that is very profound. Till that point, Krishna is trying to explain to Arjuna how you can find God in the world. He says, I'm in everyone, I'm in everything, right? I'm in the fire, I'm in the sun, I'm in the moon, I'm in all of these forces, right? And he goes on explaining that, and he says, so the one who is able to see me in everything, and one who is able to see himself as part of me, he said he has reached it. He's the jnani, right? So when Arjuna tells all of this, Krishna tells all of this, Arjuna says, Krishna, I have a desire to see you in that form, right? In that, you're saying that you're the Vishwarupa. I want to see that form. And that is when Krishna blesses him with that Vishwarupa Darshan, one of the grandest miracles, right? The description is so beautiful and phenomenal, and Arjuna looks at it and he's so flabbergasted. At the end of it, Krishna explains that this is a vision that is not given to anyone. You cannot do any yajna and get this vision. You cannot read any books and get this vision. You cannot get this vision through any yoga or any kind of sadhana that you can do. He says it can be got only through love. That devotee who has devotion, I will give this. Right? Who has ananya bhakti, I will give this. And he says, Jnatum drashtum tattvena praveshtum. Very beautiful 3 words. Swami has also spoken about extensively. He says, one thing is to know that God is everywhere. One thing is to know that God is in every being and every person that I interact with. That is jnatum. But you need that drashtum sometimes.
Right.
Drashtum is you should be able to see it. Right? You should be able to experience it in a real way. And that was the vision that was given to Arjuna. But eventually, tattvena praveshtum, you will merge in that experience. Which means all of these experiences that Swami shows, to show that I know what is running in your mind. I know I am there with you at every moment, above you, below you, all around you, is for us to not be at awe when we experience it, but to live in that experience every moment. I think that is the purpose one can think of, isn't it?
The great Saint Ramanujacharya, I think he has also mentioned, because he had certain questions in his mind. And there is one of the person who goes and fans the Lord and gives him bath in the temple. And he comes to Ramanujacharya and he says, these are your questions and these are the Lord's answers, in the same order. And that shakes him up. And then he's known to have said that one such experience in our lives is very essential for us to believe that the Lord is all powerful. But once that is given to you, you should hold on to it. And the real vision that the Lord gives us and blesses us with is to see Him in everything around us, is to see Him in this creation. And once you reach that state of awareness, I think every moment is a miracle.
Right.
Everything is a miracle. Every second is a miracle, isn't it?
Right. And when you said that Swami makes that statement, that this is ascharyam for you, but sahajam for me. We should get to a state where it becomes sahajam for us. That this is my Swami. Yes, what is the surprise in me seeing him everywhere?
Right.
Because he is everywhere. We are on the eve of Aradhana Mahotsavam, and Swami says the very embodiment of this quality of Aradhana, or this process of Aradhana, is Radha.
Right.
Right. And Swami narrates that beautiful episode of Krishna coming to her and telling, I am here. Expecting a surprise from a devotee, expecting a wonder from the devotee.
Right.
He says, Radha, I am here. And she has no expression of surprise or excitement on her face. And Krishna is saying, aren't you happy? Aren't you surprised that I am here? And she asks Krishna, what do you mean you have come now? Or you have come here? And then she runs to the waters of Yamuna and says, aren't you in this water? She goes to the creepers and says, aren't you in these creepers? Aren't you in these flowers? Aren't you in this breeze? Aren't you in that cloud? Aren't you in that sun? Where are you not for you to come and tell me that you are here now? Right? A reversal of roles where the devotee says, I'm not surprised by your presence because I'm living in your presence day in and day out.
Beautiful.
Right? And I think that is the process that we should allow him to take us through and eventually reach and say that, Swami, right, we have experienced your omniscience and omnipresence and omnipotence through that form, only to find that you are in every form, you are in every name that we worship, we are in every situation we go through, and every experience that we have. When Swami told Professor Kasturi, you're my greatest miracle, every day that we are able to breathe and live is a miracle.
Right.
Right? Just because we don't pay attention to it, we don't realize that every moment we are able to breathe. And during the times of the pandemic, when breathing became difficult, we realized what a miracle it is.
So true.
Right? So every moment is a miracle, and I think the miracles that Swami performed was so that we will recognize his presence in every moment of our life. And if we don't do that, we are only getting distracted from one thing and getting distracted by something else. What is important is, as Swami said, to be attracted to him.
In fact, that sums up everything. That is, see him in this entire creation and see him in our hearts. And like I always say, the greatest blessing that we had was when Swami would show that the same Swami who is standing in front of you is also the same Swami in your heart. And that was the greatest experience, and that was the greatest miracle that all of us experienced. Praying to Swami and offering this humble offering at his lotus feet. Praying to him that he guides us so that we see him in this entire creation, and we see him every moment of our lives, and we are immersed in his love all the time. Thank you so much for this patient listening. Jai Sai Ram.